One's coming at you head on. Olaf's running into you with the Kled ult, Kai'Sa's ulting in your backline, Rakan's going in. Whereas Splyce kind of wants to play the team fight slow, wait for the Mega Gnar. Gragas ult them back a bit, maybe Tristana can free hit.
To me, for Splyce, it looks like they've just done what they've been trying to do, right? And playing to their comfort in terms of style. But for Rogue, it looks like they've evolved throughout the series and now have Woolite on this strong Kai'Sa. Possibly again a strong top side and jungle. What does this mean for the game? Is this a 3-0 for Rogue with this comp, Moose?
I'm heavily favoring Rogue over here. I think they have mid prio, they have Olaf for jungle, they have comfort on Finn who can roam around and make engages and things happen with it. I think this is a good draft for Rogue.
But I do think if Splyce don't get, if Rogue don't get ahead that much early, I think Splyce's comp actually outscales them pretty nicely. They've got the Tristana, they've got the Akali. I wouldn't be surprised to see Splyce win this game if it goes even
Cool, let's see. Spicy drafts on both sides. A possible last game, or can Splyce claw themselves back in this series? The teams are ready for game 3, so let's head over to our casters.
Thank you very much, Shocks. Of course, this is it. It is do or die for the side of Splyce. A very different draft this time around. Splyce so bold as to leave Inspired's Olaf open. An incredibly confident maneuver as we get ready for what very well could be our final game of the day and Splyce's final game of the year. Can't read that one, but I'm going to assume it's a good one. And of course, just incredible performance thus far from Rogue. No surprise to see them now kind of perceived as the favorites of this series.
We finally get to see him come onto the Rift here for Game 3, though. And you to bring up Inspired's Olaf a little bit earlier. This is a champion that almost no teams are willing to let fall into his hands. This champion can absolutely pop off against you in the early game. And usually when we see Inspired play this Olaf, it's on blue side, because they have to first pick it when no one bans it away. A game like this, they're able to pick it up. But one thing you'll see Inspired do a lot is play inside the enemy jungle and play to attack the enemy jungler on his camps, to steal them away. And one thing you're going to try to see a lot from him when on red side is to invade the enemy raptor camp. Now this is probably going to be on the second respawn of it, so think around 4 minutes 30 seconds, 5 minutes into the game, depending on Xerxes' early game pathing. But as we heard on the desk, with a mid laner like the Corki that can have priority in the early game, expect to see Inspired getting up to some business inside the enemy jungle early on.
Which is why the Braum Tristana is so interesting coming out of Kaabe nor Scaran, because I agree with you. It's usually about how we're going to use that priority for Rogue in that mid lane to allow Inspired to just really attack Xerxes' jungle. But Kaabe on this Tristana and Norscaron on the Braum actually have a lot of 2v2 potential and a lot of all-in potential onto a Kai'Sa and a Rakan.
And that's sort of why I like seeing Xerxes starting up on his top side of the map too, because you think level 2, there's going to be kill threat if you bring a jungler around to this bottom lane for Splyce because of that combo as you mentioned. So eyes on Xerxes, even though typically he waits to level 6 to farm up and then make his plays, he does have room to make some moves earlier.
And we've seen explosive early games from Xerxes. Just because he plays one way most of the time doesn't mean that he can't show us more this time around, and feels like it would be very needed, a very needed change of pace for Splyce. But we also heard from the analyst desk that Rogue need to find something here in the early game, because the later you go, the less a champion like Olaf is going to mean, and eventually Splyce's team comp with the picks like a Tristana, the Akali, the engage/disengage power of a Gragas will outscale.
Yeah, now one other reason why we do see Olaf's play inside the enemy jungle a lot is because his early clear is so fast. So he's already finished with Wolves while Xerxes is still going to be on that camp. So when he full clears his jungle, he actually has about 30 seconds to 45 seconds where he doesn't have to do anything on the map. Doesn't have to, farm any camps. Those haven't quite spawned just yet. So expect to see Inspired after he full clears his topside jungle to maybe reset, try to put some vision down in the enemy side of the map to give protection for Woolite and Pander.
Now, of course, priority in the mid lane, which is going to make his life that much easier. See where he goes with that reset once he gets an item under his belt, how exactly he wants to play the rest of this one out. In the meantime, Finn very much struggling towards the top side of the map. The range advantage Vizicsacsi holds on to early will make this one difficult. Now, last time Finn was able to play this Kled up into Vizicsacsi, it was against a GP, but Finn had a very rough time. He and Inspire were not able to get anything done. The question is, will this time be different? Because so far in the series, with the Aatrox in his hands, Finn has been one of the most impactful Rogue members, but can the Kled be the same level of impact?
It's still really hard to put a Kled down because he has so many tools to turn things around with the Kled there. Excuse me, Kled. Skarl there, his ability to hop on and off. So even if he's pushed under his tower, it's still very dangerous to dive Finn and dive at Kled.
So even though there wasn't a kill up in the top lane, Vizicacci's laning phase just ended, effectively. Inspired started with the sweeper, so he walks in, he clears the vision. Now with the lane frozen on Chachi's side of the map, or on Finn's side of the map rather, Chachi can't TP back in the lane. He has to walk because the threat of a jungle gank is way too real.
And then that just means he's going to sit here and CS up, make up for the difference that he suffered earlier on in the game. So well played by the side of Inspired. And of course, the vicious strikes coming in from the Kled and the healing reduction as well makes it very difficult for Vizicsacsi to survive these all-ins in mini Gnar.
So top lane not as bad as I made it out to be. There's a lot of ranged minions on Finn's side, so the wave is going to push back in towards Chachi. Finn just going to have the level lead for the time being.
Yeah, and it's very important then that Chachi's able to survive this initial crash, as those 3 waves will connect into his tower. So there is the potential that before this crashes in, although small window since Inspired is bot side, that normally you could be dove at this point in the map. But we see the Olaf, he's bot, he's starting to path towards top lane, but he's not going to be here in time just for this crash.
I'm thinking Inspired wants to play inside of Xerxes' topside jungle now. You know, he thinks he knows the Gragas should have started on the top side of the map. There's no camps for Inspired to be going now other than his bot side. So him being on this side of the map is unexpected at the moment. So he either needs to cash in on some pressure in the top lane or get inside of Xerxes' jungle and try to fight him.
He's on his way, Ender.
Of course, proccing the Blast Guard, the Scribe's Bloom as well, will give away a little bit of information to the side of Splyce. Xerxes feeling quite comfortable so far in the early game, actually ahead 1 camp over Inspired, it looks like. So, all things considered, not quite the immediate early game impact we may have expected, and Xerxes just going to clear out a bit of this vision.
I mean, it's not translating into Inspired picking up kills or dueling a lot, but it is translating into Inspired constantly getting vision and tracking Xerxes. Xerxes has been tracked by Rogue the entire time, and that means that Larssen is playing with perfect information, and you are starting to see, again, Larssen take advantage of a range versus melee matchup in his CS.
But I actually just think Xerxes won out a lot here. He's actually on Inspired's Raptor camp right now when you're thinking Inspired needs to make that play. So even though Inspired is going to walk over and make a response play in his own, we were thinking Inspired is going to try to accelerate in terms of jungle experience, was trying to take this and also cash in on his own Raptor. So instead of that, it's actually just Xerxes staying even. And if Gragas and Olaf hit level 6, Gragas is going to be happy that Olaf hasn't done anything yet.
Definitely. Once again, expecting this to be the Oots, but Vizicsacsi needs to be careful. Finn still has a flash up and available, waiting. Of course, a slowed down Finn means that he's not going to flash forward, knowing Vizicsacsi will just flash in response.
And this is one of the really dangerous things when you face a Kled, his ability to chase you when the wave gets frozen on the side. Because of Bear Trap on a rope and his ability to joust through and get on top of you, it's really devastating for Chachi to have the wave frozen on that side, and that's what you were talking about, Ender. This is when it gets really hard for Chachi to lane.
Yeah, he's definitely going to need some vision here, especially with Inspired probably coming up towards the top side of the map very soon. Now, one thing I was thinking was, Finn, if he knows Inspired is going to play through his lane in the next few minutes, you take that flash for flash trade. You know Chachi is likely going to be pushing. If he doesn't have the flash, that's easy kills.
Here we go. Here comes the charge. Vizicsacsi caught up. Bear Trap on a rope will connect, but will not proc again. So just trying to get a bit of pressure here on the top side.
This is exactly what Finn wants, though, because now Inspired has a 5-minute window where you can come back top lane and punish this Gnar. Now if Chachi is ever pushing up, he must demand jungle attention to help him push the wave in.
And this is actually kind of a Inception type of move here. One of the things that Olaf is really good at is he's good at taking dragons by himself. And you can see where Xerxes is pathing. He's underneath Chachi. Chachi needs resources and safety net underneath him. And Inspired, recognizing that the jungler is probably topside, is able to use Olaf's ability to solo the dragon and take Infernal.
And Finn, in the meantime, demounted, forced to use his own flash. So Splyce are able to match flash for flash, but as you mentioned, that Inception play, that knowledge, kind of forcing Xerxes to choose means the Rogue get the better end of both, trading flashes on the top side and getting Infernal Drake in the meantime.
Inspired's pathing also fairly unintuitive there. Xerxes usually a jungler that's very good at reading his opponents, but Inspired is just sacrificing jungle camps to make plays on other sides of the map where he does have tempo.
But we are doubling down. Humanoid now has priority in mid lane. He has cheated up towards this top side. Finn, no flash, no TP. 1 versus 3. What you got?
TP on the way and TP being responded to. Finn can get demounted. We'll have an opportunity, but Splyce just forced to pull away. They've already burned their TP. Kabi now forced to commit onto the top side.
But here's the thing. Woolite doesn't mind being up here. We've successfully taken a very early dragon. Yes, the Rift Herald isn't up, but you can make a swap like this and not lose anything because you don't lose numbers advantage over the monster objective since it's dead bot.
Both supports now just forced to back. Oh, I guess we're going top now. Both members without TP say to themselves, Inspired will be here as well, but will be spotted out by a well-placed ward on the side of Splyce. And they know the Olaf is there, and Kabi's still willing to step forward here as he has multiple members on the top side of the map. Now checking in, though, of course, Corki with the package up and available will be a threat, something that Splyce definitely need to respect here.
That's what we were sort of waiting for, because with all teleports down, with only flashes being blown on the top laners, you look around the map, it's like, well, it's hard to really force a play anywhere, but now that Rogue know they're going to have priority over mid lane, they're going to have that quick global pressure of a Larssen, you actually generate a lot more control over these two side lanes, especially where Inspired is on the map, because if you can freeze this wave in front of your tower, Norskeren and Kabe can't actually farm, and I actually think that Woolite clearing away those minions may be a mistake, but they do see that duo on top of the ward.
Have to be careful here. But of course, it's really Splyce, so I have to be careful. Woolite just kind of wait and bait, and I think they've realized that they're now on a ward. Okay.
It was the ultimate mind game because they wanted to push.
Inspired is on a ward. They're
wait.
just taking turns.
Hold on, look at where Larson is on the minimap. He's cheating towards Finn.
Here comes Cersei, though. Predator on the way in, but Chachi's knocking back to the wall, but he's been pushed back by the package. That's first blood for the Corki.
And this is the thing, it's constantly Splyce thinking that they know what Rogue is going to do. They were absorbing the pressure top lane, they were going to stall out Inspired's time, but it's not Inspired that takes the right turn. This time around, it's Larson, and Larson doesn't use the package to join up on the play topside. He instead turns it bottom and picks up another assist for Finn.
And this is, I think, the thing that's impressed me most about Rogue throughout this series is that they are playing the full map right there. And yes, there is inherent risk to that, to splitting up your pressure onto two polar opposite sides of the map. But ultimately, you have Larson with the package. You know Akali cannot respond. And with that knockback too, like, what can this flashless Gnar actually do? It goes back 3 minutes to when Finn was able to burn Chachi's flash in that 1v1.
In a situation like that, Rogue did a good job by having wards placed on that that pathway down to get the Corki there with the control ward, but where was Humanoid calling the miss on his lane opponent?
He was farming mid lane.
But also, as we look back on that play, I do have to give a decent amount of credit to Finn. By using the pocket pistol there, it looks like he denied the wall impact damage from the Gnar. So still incredibly well played mechanically, but now Larson is the one in trouble. Humanoid looking for a little bit of vengeance after the previous game. Larson now has to run for the hills. Hexagon keeping him alive for now, but Humanoid will still grab that one in the end.
And finally, Humanoid is ready to play in the series. This is the guy that we need to start popping off here. It shouldn't be Larson controlling this mid lane.
But look at top lane. Finn and Inspired are both in this lane. They want to make the play.
The charge. Northscaren's not going to be enough to stop this one. The entire team collapses. Cersei trying to find the disengage. Maybe Splyce can turn it, but Woolite goes right back in. That's going to be a lethal instinct right there. Diving into the backside. Humanoid left all on his lonesome.
Once again, Splyce think they know the play. They got the kill on Larson. Everything was going so perfectly for them, but it was Finn sacrificing CS down in this bottom lane to make the roam play, to walk through the control ward, denial of vision in top lane to set up for a couple quick kills.
And now it's a Rift Herald. It's the fact that you have the TP from Larson to cover the bot lane, so Chachi's not getting any free plates. Across map, top Herald and bot lane, Rogue match Splyce and come ahead. Now looking at close to a 1k gold advantage.
And honestly, the team play from Rogue has been fantastic this series. Everyone on the same page for this tower dive. And once again, as we look back on the pro view, it is Splyce who are caught unaware and unprepared.
And it's Finn with the charge right here, not able to single out the AD carry, but is able to pick up the CC down on towards the Braum. The whole of Rogue ready to fire on this play. And I challenge you to think, we look at the CS difference between these two top laners. It's 30 CS, but if we're to switch over to the gold, Finn is right there in it because of the turret plates, because of the kills that he's actually been able to cash in on.
Now, while we were in that replay, it was Chachi and Cersei playing the pressure game and threatening the bottom tower. It didn't translate into plates, but it is trying to get Splyce reset on this map so we can contest the Mountain Dragon that's spawning in 20 seconds.
Maybe this is the opportunity for Splyce to turn it around once again. Very much the expected favorites going into the series, and now waiting to see them come alive, see if they can fight back, or if Rogue will simply find a 3-0 in playoffs as 4 rookies in what will be a massive upset in the LEC.
So both top laners are Humanoid's mid laner, but he's in top lane right now. Neither of them have TP at the moment. Finn should be coming up in the next minute or so, so it would just be a 4v4 on this bottom side of the map. It seems like Rogue want to start this thing up, and there's not a whole lot Splyce can do right now, just component items at the moment to contest.
But you also have to consider lane assignment. So I like the fact that Splyce have stepped away. They're going to go ahead and give away the Mountain Drake. They don't feel comfortable going for it or contesting for it. But you also have your non-TP member, while Chachi has a TP, playing away from the lane. And yeah, it doesn't feel great for Gnar right now, but you could have had a potential numbers advantage if you had Chachi up in topside instead of Humanoid.
Yeah, but not able to capitalize on that opportunity. Now Larson just grabs the blue buff, goes back to bot lane to continue farming. The Kled has been freed up into a melee matchup, will make his life much easier overall. And right now things just seem to be going fine for Rogue. They've got the Infernal, they've got the Mountain. But remember, what we heard from the analysts earlier, pressure is on Rogue to build bigger advantages here in the early game. Once again, they are going up against the likes of a Tristana, the likes of an Akali. But Finn may have something special planned.
Yeah, check this out. TP coming up very soon for Woolite. Finn wants to start up this fight because Inspired is on the way.
They're trapped on a rope, producing the healing. Finn now demounted, has to be careful. Forced to back off here, but Inspired is up here, as you mentioned. Additionally, has the Eye of the Herald too, but Cersei waiting off in the darkness, ready to go if he needs to.
40 seconds until the turret plates do go down. Looks like with Finn resetting, Rogue aren't going to be using this Herald to pick up extra money off of those plates. Instead, maybe holding on to it to fully break down a mid lane tower later on.
clearing it out. Larson, though, with the package, we'll see if he is like able to use this to make any greater plays. For now, it seems like Rogue are pretty content farming. Something you pointed out in the previous game, Frostgurn, is kind of like waiting for these item spikes before you go for anything bigger, more aggressive. You can see a lot of champions between items are not quite yet to those first major items.
Which is why I agree with Andrew's assessment that it feels like Herald's probably going to be played for the mid lane, and that means to be successful, you need to have a numbers advantage there, so you don't just place the Herald, not get a plate gank, and are able to actually have the numbers to push it down.
Speaking of numbers, right now Rogue brought 4 members into the mid lane, trying to rotate this all the way up top side. You'll notice that when Humanoid went for the reset, Finn fully pushed out this wave, so they do have a lot of pressure around that side of the map.
That could actually make them pick if they feel that, again, they just catch Splyce off guard where they're not in position, that you use the Herald now instead into the top lane, because that's what you're looking for. You actually need this Herald to kill a tower and not just get the gold off of the plates there. So you needed to make sure that Splyce didn't have numbers behind it to immediately clear it out.
And the reason why they only commit the Herald top lane is so that they can get all the rest of their team back into mid so they don't end up trading towers. The Herald ideally use it mid, right? That's the most valuable tower on the map in terms of generating pressure for yourself, but instead they pick up the money off the top lane and don't lose anything in the process.
So Frostgurn, just to double check with you on the logic here, because normally I look at Herald and it's very simple for me as a solo queue player, like let's lay that thing down, let's get some plates, let's get some money. But are you actually happy that they've used it a little bit later, used it to break a tower rather than just getting, let's say, 300 extra gold?
I mean, yeah. Ultimately, if you can get some of that solo gold onto a champion like Corki and kind of springboard into his Trinity Force, that feels good. But I like the reaction from Rogue. It felt like they went to formation to use it mid lane to shove that tower down, but as soon as Splyce showed up, they're like, pivot, and they immediately ran it top. Because at that point in the game, the only thing you want from Herald is to actually kill a tower.
Once again, that kind of adaptability is not something you expect from a team that is, for the most part, rookies. And summer regular season, goal difference of 15, you can see very difficult regular season stats normally, but of course across this game they've been just dominating. And here, 2K up in the early game, it feels like things are getting better and better outside of where they were matched in game 2.
I mean, the primary takeaway from this best of 5 is this is not Rogue cheesing their way through a best of 5. It had the Garen Yuumi, but this is Rogue playing very good, fundamental League of Legends. This is showing how intelligent Rogue are as a team, and they should be celebrated for that.
And Rogue continuing to go on the offense, too. Now, bringing 5 people to barrel down mid lane, they can zone Splyce away from this tower, knock this thing out, just coming immediately off of a reset. Splyce are slow to react. They use the Kled charge in, not to actually initiate a fight, but just to zone Splyce away from the tower, and now they can fan out onto the map, pick up those side lane towers, and deny Splyce from getting much more.
And now Splyce are trying to respond, however, looking to break down this bottom tier 1 tower. Corki's on the way to pick up the farm. They know they're a little bit too late. Humanoid will get one back in return, but if we check on the top side, Vizichachi, the other member that we have to keep our eyes on, Meganar on the way. He's not going to have that range anymore. Well, it has to be careful here, but Vizichachi definitely has to respect the potential for Rakan. He's still going to stay on the top side of the map, so Splyce at least getting something back, even if they do lose the most valuable tower in the mid lane.
Chachi is really trying his luck here. I think he has a sneaking suspicion that Rogue have probably sent up multiple members. He's going to finally disengage, but an overextension would have surely meant Chachi's death.
With 40 seconds on the Mountain Drake before that does respawn, you're going to see the dual lane of Rogue reset. Now Path immediately back for this objective. Inspired 2 should look to get back to base, pick up himself a Black Cleaver. Not quite enough gold for that, but definitely refresh his HP and get ready for a fight, because this team feels really strong right now. Trinity Force on Larson. The rest of the team is geared up and ready to go.
Yeah, and it's kind of across the board as well for Splyce. Everyone's got their initial items coming in, so I agree. It's going to be who gets here first, who takes vision control, but both teams should feel fairly confident that they can put up a fight here.
And I think for Splyce, you have to feel like this is a fight that they need to win if it's going to be one they're going to take, because as a team, it's a pretty storied team. Yes, they have never quite been the team to win the split, but they've always been close. We look back at some of those 8 playoff appearances, 1 final appearances. They went to Worlds, but they've yet to win a title. This was kind of supposed to be their split where they contested the top 3. This is the best that they've looked in a regular season. But if they lose here, it's all for naught.
It would be a colossal failure for Splyce if they lost here. They picked their opponent. It is expected that they beat Rogue, and already being 2 games down is a blemish on Splyce's perfect record.
Meanwhile, Rogue, while Splyce commit 5 members to pick up the Drake themselves, Rogue are just playing the money game right now, rotating multiple members up into the top side of the map, pick up the enemy jungle CS, knock down a tower as well, and at the same time, Larson was fully pushing out that mid lane wave, so Splyce can't respond by then trading the mid lane tower.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. It was the fact that Larson was shoving this far forward, and you can see how much time it's now taking for Splyce to reset that. So as Ender's saying, they can't immediately try to trade mid tower for that top tower.
No, but you see panic pings coming out. Looks like Splyce have spotted out a death brush, and in the meantime, they will be taking the enemy blue buff. So able to get a decent amount back here. And overall, the gold, only 900 in the favor of Rogue. So what felt like a pretty commanding sort of Rogue early game with this Olaf and the Kled, actually not amounting to too great an advantage at this stage of the game.
And now we need to go back to what the desk was talking about with Cadriel and Moosby, that they felt that Splyce had a lot of scaling options that they would be able to outplay a late game. So far, Splyce have done a good job. They've slowed down the bleeding. They are trading objectives, even though it feels like Rogue are trading more up on terms of control of the map. They've constantly had Humanoid out to the side lane, level 13 to Larsen's level 11. They are slowly siphoning more gold, more experience, and more leverage onto this hyper carry Akali.
Now, to put a finger on how Splyce actually want to take on these late game team fights, they have a lot of good tools, right? The long range of Tristana going to outrange everyone on the side of Rogue, but I think their team fights are about displacing the enemy, about using the Gragas cask not to initiate, but to punch away the Kai'Sa and the Corki while you deal with the Rogue frontline. Rogue wants to run straight at you, so if you have a Braum protecting the Tristana, her self-peel, and that long range, you have the ability to knock out the enemy frontline before their carries actually get to layer down damage.
And of course, in the face of a pick like Rakan, everyone thinks of the 5-man charms, thinks of these huge engaged moments, but you forget kind of the intangible value that a Braum Unbreakable brings to the table. And if 280 carries are throwing, 40,000 gold worth of damage into a Braum, you've just lost the fight.
Also just get knocked away by that Tristana. Vander not going to have the easiest of times here unless he can approach from the Fog War, get some CC, something like that down on towards Kave. But the way the game's going right now, Rogue feel very good about themselves. Now with the Baron spawning up as well, these teams can be less focused on the side lane down here. Finn still trading very aggressively, but it's not about creating these collapse plays towards them. It's about controlling mid lane and then controlling the top river.
Yeah, because at this point, this is what we're playing for, is this tower. And what you're going to constantly see is that Chachi is going to always cheat down, try to threaten this mid lane tower, and we're going to bounce waves back and forth, play kind of ping pong over who has mid lane priority and whose side lane gets potential to roam.
Finn needs to be careful, but now a TP's been burned. Humanoid can't just walk away from this one. Use the second stack of the ultimate. It does force Larsen
Look at
TP out.
Oh, it looked like there was going to maybe be a fight right there. Xerxes seeing the TP come out from Larsen. That could have been a quick 4v3 fight in the favor of Splyce. While these teams both have Mountain Drakes, have the ability to knock down these Barons very quickly, Vander pops the quickness to no avail.
Not quite quick enough on that one. We'll be able to walk away. However, I like the Rogue. Try to fish for more of a play there. They catch a few members out. Woolite will be able to push out this wave, though, and they can start to walk towards Baron, look to secure some of this vision.
Still, a lot of respect from Splyce given to Rogue, the fact that they didn't pull the trigger when they had the numbers advantage in the mid lane. I think it goes to Splyce not necessarily having the best hard engage on their composition, unless Chachi is there in Meganar, or you hit an incredible cask. It's not like the Sejuani ultimate. If Xerxes on Sejuani there, I think that looks much better for Splyce.
Yeah, of course, not going to find quite that simple engage option. Greg is a bit more nuanced to use there. Finn continuing to push out on the bottom side, but definitely has to be very careful here. The last 1v1 wasn't really going in his favor, and Humanoid now no flash advantage, but no TP for Larsen.
So I would like to take a moment to look at the map all the way out right here to try and figure out what Splyce are going to try to do next. Because you'll notice coming off the reset, they actually went for, that's not actually going to be it right now. I was trying and get the full zoom out at the moment. We'll see if we can get it. Still not going to have it. That's okay. Don't worry about it, guys. Rogue grouping up around this middle lane.
It's because they know there's a fight.
I'm used to you disappointing me. It's fine. That's like our solo queue games. You tell me you're going to win something, it just doesn't happen. It's fine.
I baited everybody. It's okay, because Rogue are grouping up and taking control of the mid lane.
And ultimately, like Baron setups, I feel like we've talked about them a decent number of times, and it feels right now like this is that push back and forth. The push, the pull, both teams vying for control. But I'm wondering if Rogue are just going to try to break that wide open. But Vander is very patiently not going in.
Because that's the thing, unless Finn is there, it's really hard for Rogue to hard engage onto Splyce. We already talked about how Splyce lack a lot of the hard engage tools that you normally see on compositions, which is why we're kind of stuck in this ping pong of the mid lane. But as soon as someone does get access into Baron for both comps, that Baron will get shredded. Not just because both teams have a Mountain Dragon, but you're also dealing with something like a Kai'Sa, like an Olaf, and like a Tristana. So it's going to be a really tense game, probably more so from Splyce because they are playing against match point. One mistake costs you your playoff run.
We're going to have a fight coming up very soon. Infernal Drake spawning in 5 seconds. One weakness of Rogue in the regular season, they always showed up to objectives way too early. Before it was spawning, they wasted a lot of time. This time, they all reset immediately before that objective respawn. So while, yes, they're not the first team into the river, they're all at full power coming into this fight, and they have the ability to force on.
Here comes the charge. Norscairn going to be sacrificed here, leaping into the rest of the team on the way. Vander, though, knocked back. Can he get anything? No. Finn now forced to retreat. Humanoid into the back line. Pocket Pistol will take him over the wall, but Busy Chachi runs him down. Kavi's going to grab that kill, and now Humanoid trying to find a kill. Will he step forward for more? Xerxes Walking in, both sides going to walk away. Scathed, though. A lot of hurt members.
Rogue just had to overforce into that fight. Once you go in with Kled, you cannot go out. And they got caught in this very tight funnel of a corridor with Humanoid coming in from behind. It meant that Rogue actually couldn't get their backline in there to steal the DPS.
And this is what we were waiting for. We needed a pick to go down, someone to lose numbers so we could eventually start winning out on this mid lane. Now, there is going to be a big reset moment here. Splyce have committed to taking the mid tower, trying to stagger their backs as well as the Infernal, and immediately you see Rogue sprinting towards the Baron. That's because they're first on the map, they have the numbers advantage here, and I'm just curious how bold they're feeling. Splyce know that this is a potential, they need to guard this Baron.
Vander finds the knockup. Shuriken Flip is there. Humanoid, though, now in trouble to shut down. This could be it. Humanoid may have just cost his team the game.
Yeah, you can see they immediately want to go for Baron. The TP comes in, Finn not wasting any time, wants to start this up. He does not have the charge to start off the fight. Large initiation cooldowns down as well. No quickness for Vander. It's a 5v4 without their spells.
Chachi, this is his time to shine. Meganar is on the way. He leaps in, he finds three! And an instant! He waited so long for his opportunity, and there it is. Finn, though, fishing for the reset. Larson still untouched on the backside. He may just get the remount. Northscare now running for his life. Rogue have turned the play. I cannot believe it. Finn gets the remount. He's running them down. This could be it. The cask is forced out. It's the only hope they have left.
Now, Chachi did manage to save absolute disaster for Splyce. He stopped the Baron, but this is time and time again that Splyce are caught off from this play. They play League of Legends by the book. They say there's no way they turn on the Baron, but they lost tempo. They didn't have the time on the map. They didn't have the numbers, and Rogue immediately pulled the trigger.
And we have to look at this Alienware replay. It's incredible from Chachi.
Yeah, just a beautiful initiation right there. Gets 4 out of 5 members. But here's the key thing. While Kabe goes down, Rogue, they have an extra 80 carry. So Larson stays alive. They have the range advantage. And with the remount coming in from Finn, they're able to chase down the rest of Splyce.
Now, at this point, as we come out of this replay, things should have settled. Splyce want to make sure that they clear out all of that vision that Rogue have just played in over the Baron, and we're going to go back to not just rushing the Baron, but playing the priority game, playing that wave game in the top and the mid lane to make it much safer to set up.
And getting more time and more gold in respective teams' back pockets. Of course, it is 3 items now for Kabe and Tristana, only 2.5 on the side of Woolite.
Kabe absolutely massive right now, and we're just 26 minutes into the game. With the late game scaling options, the team fight tools for Splyce, you have to give a lot of weight for them in these later game team fights, in the fights around the coming Mountain Drake and the Baron.
As long as what we call the line of scrimmage is set up for Splyce, you need to have your tank line in front of you. You need to allow Kabe to free hit. So fighting in corridors is very successful for them because it's very difficult for Rogue's composition to get around. Catching them out, however, with the mobility of Finn's charge is where Rogue can strike.
Yeah, I think what you're getting at is a fight that stays still, Rogue will not win. A fight that moves, they will.
Here we go, Vander off on the flank, he finds it, it's a beautiful engage, everyone goes in, Humanoid is left, holding his head in his hands, he doesn't even get to participate, the Akali is useless, Woolite takes down Kabe, and Humanoid dies in the end. Rogue have destroyed Splyce.
Rogue take 5 without losing a single member. They don't even care about the Baron buff. They're just going to charge it down this mid lane. They're going to be able to take a lot.
They are massive death timers. 20 on Kabe, 14 on Northscare. Rogue are going to do as much damage as possible before Splyce get up.
And here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
They're just going to end.
For the end.
They're going to end it. Not just a 2-0, not just a win, but here we go, defying all expectations. The legacy of European rookies is alive and well with Rogue. They destroy Splyce. They secure top 4.
Talk to Finn on Euphoria. Asked him, why are you a fan of Rogue? His immediate response, because we are the future of Europe. He has 13 games played. He comes into this across from Chachi at 301, and he makes his name. Remember the name. Remember Larson. Remember Inspired.